What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is The Flash, Season 5, Episode 10, The Flash and the Furious. Um, Overall, it's not a bad episode, but Nora's definitely starting to get to that point where I feel like, okay, look, you've had your moments where you've learned from your mistakes, you've grown from your mistakes, but now it just feels like you're not doing much other than just back, and that's about it. Every episode she has a growth. Where I'm angry at something or someone. By the end of the episode, okay, you know what? I've learned from my mistakes. It's been almost every episode with her, and this, again, she feels like she's a bratty teenager, millennial teenager, whatever you want to call her. She just feels like one of those characters that, I don't care about authority. I'm going to do my own thing. I have my own worldview, and that's it. Nobody else is right but me. And every episode, it's like she has to learn to step away from that. And it's getting old. And this one in particular doesn't make any sense because you've got Weather Witch, she manages to get broken out after, first of all, Nora blows up in the courtroom. Stupid. But then, she ends up getting arrested. She's taken away to prison for a long sentence. And then all of a sudden this girl shows up who is, ultimately breaking her out. But Jocelyn doesn't want anything to do with that. She's like, no, I don't want this. I don't want a life of crime like my father. So she creates a fake hurricane to draw somebody in to say, hey, I want to help you. I don't want any of this. I was kidnapped. I was taken. I didn't want to be broken out. She made the decision to do that. And what does Nora do? Oh, you know what? You're a criminal. I don't trust you. I can't think of any other reason why you would... Like, that doesn't make any sense. Why else would she do that? Oh, she's trying to trap me. How? How does turning herself into you trap you? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make any logical sense. Yeah, think about it first. I wouldn't just instantly be like, oh, you know where the bad guy's hideout is? Well, let's go together. But just taking her back to prison, you're not listening to anything she has to say. You're just making your own decisions without anybody else's point of view. And that's pretty much been Nora this entire season. Like, she learns from her mistakes and then she takes a step back into it. Learns from her mistakes, back into it. It's just, I don't know, it's getting old. It really is. And I'm getting frustrated with her because it just seems like more and more her mistakes are causing problems to where now, Jocelyn, she had a chance. She said, look, I'm just trying to do what's right. And then she turns her back, Nora turns her back on her, and then she decides, you know what, screw it. If she doesn't want to believe in me, then I am. I'll be who I'm supposed to be then. And decides to be a villain. And yeah, she has a moment at the end where she changes her mind. But by that point, it's already too late. She's already kind of been turned towards the dark side. And yeah, they make the reference to Leonard Snart, but Snart was a bad guy that had a heart of gold. And he slowly started to realize the error of his ways. This was a situation where she tried to, repent for her ways. She tried to turn herself in so she could do that, and then they said no. Nora said no, I don't want to do that. And so it's like now she feels like she's been betrayed. I don't know, it's just it was kind of a dumb storyline to have. Aside from that though, there were some other interesting things, like Cisco coming up with the metahuman serum to cure people of their metahuman abilities. And of course Caitlin does take issue with that, and kind of understandably so, because for a long time she was like, I want to get rid of Killer Frost, and now she's realized, after being without Killer Frost for so long, that it's not just, oh, these are my abilities, this is actually a part of her. So I'm curious to see where that goes, because Cisco does have a very good point. There are some people that they have these abilities and they can't control them, and it's not their fault. So if there's a way to cure them of that, absolutely. And there are also some people that, if they're too dangerous, it might be a good idea to take away their metahuman abilities. If they use them for the wrong reason, yeah, it would make sense that that's your punishment. You can't use those abilities anymore. So I don't know. I see both sides of it. I understand both of their points of view. And I'm glad they're working together on it. I felt like the forced tension between the two of them, when Killer Frost shows up and stops his experiments, I felt that was a little too forced. I feel like they had a good story building, and then they decided to make them fight for a little bit until they reconciled at the end of this episode. But yeah, seeing them work together on that, I'm curious to find out more. We also see that Dr. Sherlock Wells, he is starting to figure out more and more about what Nora's doing, and I'm curious. I really am, because that I will say that's one thing about Nora that I am curious to find more about is what she's doing with Eobard Thawne. What is she trying to do? What is he trying to do? Because he seems like he's trying to be like, no, yeah, you can trust me, um, but she of course doesn't believe him until the end of this episode. And even then, she says she doesn't really trust him, but she's gonna give him the chance to get her to trust him. But at the same time, I mean, I don't trust Eobard Thawne. And also, why is he still alive since Eddie, his great grandfather, how that worked? I thought he was erased from the timeline because of that. I don't know. Not entirely sure. I've probably forgotten exactly how that works. But anyways, yeah, I'm curious to see what the plan is there. Like if this is actually something good that Thawne wants to do, or if he's just manipulating Nora, which is higher probability. She's very easily manipulated. But yeah, I'm curious to find out more about that. And obviously, with Wells looking into it, it's going to be interesting to see when he decides to call her out on it and how much he's able to figure out. Because he's very clearly on her trail and trying to figure out what she's doing. I think that's about. I feel like there's one other thing. I think that was about it for this episode. Yeah. Because then there's the whole thing with Flash, being kind of out of commission, which it fits into this episode because Nora and Joss are apparently forming like like what Barry said, Leonard Snart and him, how he thought he was just a bad guy, but then he turned out to be okay. So they're very much trying to force that connection if that's what they're going for, but we'll see what they've got planned for it. But yeah, that's about it for this one. So on to the next one. See you there. Now, episode 11, Seeing Red. So, not. There are just some parts of this episode that frustrated me. So it's kind of like I didn't really hate this episode, but yeah, there were definitely some issues with it that I have that I don't know. It's hard for me to really ignore. First of all, the Killer Frost thing and hating the metahuman cure and all that. They've already discussed that the blade cannot affect Killer Frost because she's not from dark matter. So that's why she's able to use her powers even when Cicada's around. So this metahuman cure would be affecting those with dark matter in them, because Cisco's trying to create this from the pieces of the blade, right, that they took out of his hand. So this shouldn't affect Killer Frost at all, but nobody talks about this. Unless he's like actually creating something that would get rid of even Killer Frost, but they didn't seem to say that. They said it was more just metahumans, and the metahumans are created from dark matter, so I don't know, it seems like a very forced thing to have, just, oh yeah, she's upset because she's worried Caitlyn's going to get rid of her. Well, she can't with this cure. Like, I don't know, it seems weird. It seems like they just sort of put that in there just so Killer Frost has a reason to reconcile with Caitlyn for some reason. And then, of course, there's also Nora and Barry also in this one. Nora's still not a big fan of her, and some of how she reacts in this episode is not my favorite. Just as far as, like, trying to think of exactly what it is. It's just something about the way that she figures out about the fact that she can't move her legs and stuff. I don't know. It feels like they're trying to force an emotion with her. But if I'm being perfectly honest, like, I don't care about her enough to really worry about this. Like, I know she's going to have her abilities at the end of this episode. If this were something where it was like over a few episodes and she still wasn't getting better, I'd feel a lot more. But this definitely seemed like something where, oh, she loses her abilities at the beginning of the episode, but she's gonna get them back, right? Like, I don't know. I didn't really care enough about it because this seemed like something that was gonna get fixed easily. Um, so I don't know. It just seemed bizarre. And then Barry's little tirade, I don't know, also seems a little weird to me because he was talking about the end of the episode. He's like, I just didn't know I could care for someone that much. I'm like, dude, did you not see everything you did to try to save Iris's life whenever you saw Savitar kill her? I mean, come on. I was surprised Iris didn't bring that up. She's like, hello, right here. So yeah, just some issues there. There is also that the cop that got controlled by what's her face with the metahuman phone earlier in the season. He ends up betraying all these metahumans. I felt that was a little out of left field as well, just because that was the one reason that pushed him over the edge. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get that would make you scared, but also it's not the metahumans that did this, it's the meta tech that did this. So I don't know, I felt his anger was a little weird as well. There's a lot of weird moments in this episode. It wasn't necessarily bad. It's just I feel like there were moments that felt more forced than natural. And I don't normally feel like that with The Flash. Normally I feel like everything that happens on the show is pretty natural and it feels genuine. So it feels weird that now all of a sudden things are feeling a bit more forced and they're feeling like people aren't necessarily thinking everything through. Um, and on top of that, we do see Sherlock trying to look more into Nora, and then of course Iris notices that he's investigating Nora, and then she tries to like say, "No, that's the wrong track. You shouldn't investigate that." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sure. You're telling the greatest detective ever that he senses there's something wrong here. He's wrong, right? And you telling him not to look into it is gonna make him not look into it. Sure." Um, so yeah, he does figure out though at the end of this that somebody else is writing in the journal that Nora's writing in. I'm guessing it's probably going to be Thawne, I suppose. Not entirely sure. Um, but yeah, I'm still curious to find out what that story is. And I did like the fact that all of these metas, used to be bad guys, most of them. I like the fact that they got a chance for redemption. Even that one guy that has the snake coming out of his eye, even he had a chance to kind of redeem himself at the end. And it was a little cheesy how he was talking about, as long as I'm the first one on that transport. And then at the end of the episode, of course, he has a chance to be the first one to be picked up by Ralph, and he steps aside and has somebody else do it. Just kind of like, okay. I mean, I don't really know if that did much. I guess he did sort of make sure everybody got on there safe and sound. But it did seem like a little more, not necessarily like weird in a or cheesy in a weird sense, more cheesy in a good sense, that it kind of made me laugh that he looks up, he looks down, I'm like, oh, you're gonna step aside, aren't you? And yeah, anyways. But yeah, it's just a couple of weird episodes here. Nora's kind of getting on my nerves more and more. I feel like some characters are not acting like themselves and making some dumb decisions. But I mean, it's still an interesting story. I'm still curious to find out what's going to happen next. And ultimately, Cicada's still pretty awesome. Um, Even if he is just kind of a normal dude with a special blade. But I like the problems that he's created for the team this season, like being able to take away their powers and all of that stuff. It's pretty fun to watch. Um, so yeah, I can't wait to see what's gonna happen next. But I'll see you there in just a second. And now, episode 12, Memorabilia. So this is the first time that Nora's made a dumb mistake, but I've actually understood why. Because most of the rest of the time, like, it feels like she's just making mistakes, not learning from them. But this actually feels like a mistake that, I mean, she had to do. She had to go in alone because she realized if Barry went in with her. And I almost kind of wonder if Sherlock set it up like this. Like, he knew, not necessarily that she would go in alone, but he knew that if Barry and her went in together, there was a risk that they might end up finding out her truth. So I don't know. I'm curious to find out how much of this he set up in advance. But yeah, so she decides to go in alone, which is of course a dumb decision, but it makes sense. It's the first time something she's done has made sense in a while. But yeah, I liked most of this episode. I liked how they set it up. Barry and Iris getting put in Nora's memories, I thought was pretty interesting. But then, of course, they didn't really see much of use, I think, to Sherlock's investigation, except for the fact that her defense mechanism was the Reverse Flash costume. I think he is going to piece it together because he already knows that she's working with somebody else. And I think he's going to piece together that it was the Reverse Flash that she's working with. So yeah, I'm curious to see what he deduces from this. But I mean, I liked a lot of what we saw. There are two main problems I have. First of all, the fact that this girl just, I don't know, the fact that she has this dark matter in her now, and now basically she's becoming a villain as well. I don't know. I don't think I needed that much. I feel like I would have liked it much more if they did manage to cure her, and then maybe Cicada, they do manage to stop him in the next couple episodes, and the rest of the season is finding out what Reverse Flash is trying to do with the timeline, and if he actually does have an evil plan or not. But instead, it seems like they're building up that even if they do stop Cicada, this girl is going to be like just as evil. Like, she tries to kill Nora several times, calls her a liar, and I think the dark matter has been infecting her brain and making her go crazy as well. So, yeah, I don't know. It seems just a little bit too much. Like, I liked Cicada as a villain. I don't need his daughter to be the next villain after they manage to stop him. And then the other problem I kind of have with this is the scene where Iris comes in and like takes Nora's toy and it falls down and breaks and stuff. How different it was. And I get the idea that she's created this false memory of Iris, and that's why she sees it that way. But I kind of wish it wasn't so different, because it was drastically different. It wasn't just like, oh, she comes in. What I thought it was going to be is everything that she said to her would be said, but in a more loving way. Like, yeah, she got angry because she left, but then also, like, it's because she cares about her. So I could see her getting upset. It's like, yeah, but you ran away. Like, you can't just run away from me. You have to. This is dangerous. Something along those lines, almost mirroring what she said in the original memory that they saw, but just altering it slightly to where the same words could be taken in a different way. Instead, it was she comes in, she gets super angry, she says all these harsh things to her, like, how dare you, blah, 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 blah. And then, Nora yells back, I hate you. And then she comes in, and the real memory is like, Nora's just, oh, I'm so sorry. I know I miss your dad too, but hey, I love you. And she's like, I love you too, Mom. It was like the exact opposite. So I don't know. Because the thing is, with Grace, we saw she was picturing her uncle's place like the dollhouse. So it kind of makes sense. She sort of idealized it, even if things weren't great. But it's still, it came from somewhere. That memory, it just felt like something completely different that never happened. All of a sudden became this memory for her, and then they realized, oh wait, that wasn't the memory at all. And I don't know, it seemed a little weird that it was so vastly different. Whereas with Grace's memory, the room was similar, it was a better looking version of it. That's what I thought they were going to do with that scene. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I didn't really like what they did there. It just seemed a little too much. But Cisco and Ralph's little adventure, it does lead to Cisco realizing about the metahuman, non-metahuman siblings. And, he has that little moment with the bartender. I don't know if I need Cisco to go looking for love. I get what Ralph was trying to do, just get him out, and because he has been in kind of a dark place this season after what happened with Gypsy, after what happened with his powers, and, nearly dying at the hands of Cicada. Yeah, it's been rough for Cisco. So I like what Ralph tried to do, but also I feel like it's a little cliche that all of a sudden the bartender chats him up, and then all of a sudden they hit it off, and now they're texting, and it's just a little cliche for me. But all in all, these 3 episodes definitely took some steps down in regards to Nora. They weren't completely bad. I have my moments that I like, but yeah, it definitely was not as strong as a lot of what this season has shown me so far. And some of that is just because it feels like we're, ironically enough, in a show called The Flash, it feels like we're not moving fast enough. It feels like we're sort of stagnant. Um, it feels like a lot of repeating, if I'm being honest. So, but yeah, that's about it for these three. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Flash reviews, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Peace out.